You did?
No, it's just sitting.
And what's it called?
TSBA Journal. Tennessee School Board Association's Journal.
You get, what, 2 a year, Glenn?
When did that one come out?
You get 2 a year?
I think you get one every quarter. No.
April 2020. I think you get one every quarter, yeah.
Do you really?
I think you get 4.
I think you can go to their website and look at it, but
I'm
you
surprised.
should get one online.
I'm surprised they haven't done away with the.
I do not see it.
It'd be nice for you to get it.
Just done,
Yeah.
You hadn't heard anything about Tennessee law yet, have you?
oh, it's like the
See, they
regional.
canceled the 4th of July.
There's one section in there where they'll have like 8 legal
Really?
questions.
I mean, this is.
Now, I get the TSBA board talk email.
Okay, I'll check on it, make sure that you're.
Yeah.
Well, how sweet.
Nobody did that,
We told them all.
Hey, cutie.
you don't need that. Real.
I ain't going upstairs.
They may not have it in person. I bet they'll do it online.
You're laughing at me. You're not laughing with me. You're
Well,
laughing at me.
I
I can
can't,
tell
I
that's
can't hear you, I've got a mask on.
I just feel comfortable with it.
And you know there'll be an awful lot of people who, even if they did have it, they would self-select not to.
Oh, I'm sure. I think Gatlinburg on TV the other day. Looks like I heard a buffalo going up down the street when they opened it back up. That was last week.
They shut some of it back down. Yeah, Mark.
They shut some of it back down.
Some of the strip there.
How are you?
I'm fine. She retired. I say,
Okay.
She's headed
She
to
retired
Nashville.
twice.
Yeah, she's headed to Nashville, to live. She's got an apartment in Nashville.
You talking about Sandra?
She's gonna live in Nashville?
Yeah, her kids.
We did a drive-by door-away party.
Yes, yes.
Did you?
She's excited.
You ready?
Yes.
7 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 14th, 2020 Lenoir City Board of Education meeting. Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Here.
Glenn McNish,
Here.
Matthew Coleman,
Here.
Mitch Ledbetter,
Here.
Bobby Johnson is absent.
Everyone please stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys can hear me coughing and everything today now. All right, item number 6, approval of agenda. And on this item here, we need to remove item number 12, LCHS class fees. We'll talk about it at the next workshop. And we need to replace that with approval of Tech Trip Academy contract as item number 12.
What was it called?
Replace it with approval of Tech Trip Academy contract. That's the one that we talked about at our last meeting.
This right here.
I see it.
Do I hear a motion we approve
With
the
those
agenda?
changes, I make a motion we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman, Mitch Ledbetter.
Item number 7, approval of minutes from the April 9th, 2020 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman,
Aye.
Mitch Ledbetter.
Item number 8, here motion we pay our bills.
Approved. Executive committee report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman,
Aye.
Mitch Ledbetter.
Okay, under new business. Item number 11, approval of resolution to suspend policies due to COVID-19. That's what we went over on our workshop. Mark, you got anything you can say about that, or?
No, this just simply puts us in order with the State Board of Education's emergency rules that they allowed to address the school closure issues, school grading, graduation requirements, attendance, accountability, all of those areas.
Like we have a lot of choice.
What, man?
I said like we have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
Can hardly hear you, that mask on.
Trust me. I can taste it.
We have to get microphones for everyone.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman,
Aye.
Mitch Ledbetter.
Alright, item 12. Approval of Tech Trek Academy contract.
Board, this is to address our discussion from last time that we brought this up, in the fact that it is very clear now what the cost per person would be, and that according to this contract on April the 15th is the date which enrollments will have been selected. So we know exactly what we would be going into the following year with. So we made the changes that you had requested and are ready to seek your approval on this.
Like that's one bitch that you had an issue with.
There was some wording in the contract that was kind of,
Yes, we tried to clarify everything, more specifics.
I think, April the 15th was a lot better than January the 2nd and 3rd, I think. Kind of falls in line with our.
Do we have any concerns that with everything going on with the COVID, that we're gonna have a huge amount of students that prefer to do this, supposed to show up? Is that,
Well, I mean, I'm already getting calls, so, but we'll run both programs. We'll run the Tech Trek program where they'll look at homeschool students, and then we'll still advertise K-12 and iLearn, because those are really a lot of different situations there. We get a lot of health-related issues, and that's, talking to Don, he's got an incoming kindergartner who's gotta have heart surgery right now, so that would be a situation we would take care of in-house.
so you would send them to iLearn?
Yeah, we'd send them to iLearn,
The
yeah,
mothers requested it.
yeah.
I imagine you're gonna get a lot more.
To answer your question, yeah, I mean, I've got people who are calling and they're wondering about COVID in the fall.
So how do you decide which track to send them on?
Well, Tech Trek will do their own advertising and they will do their own seeking out. It's traditional homeschool kids, so kids who have been homeschooled their entire life. We're typically dealing with students who, they may be at the middle school or the high school level, and they're starting to have some anxiety issues, and they're actually diagnosed, and everything. So those are things that we can handle in-house, and then I work real closely with the principals and the counselors at the high school to say, that's a real situation when you try to do something for the kid. Yeah. But to answer your question, Matthew, yeah, I think it'll fly.
I think we're blessed to have options for parents too.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that as we get a little further in our planning for the fall.
I motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman.
Aye.
Mitch Ledbetter.
Okay, item 13, this is the first reading. Discussion to adopt LCBOE policy 5.3051, FFCRA leave. Margaret?
Yes, this is a policy that we need to incorporate based on the guidelines for our COVID response and HR issues. I've got it right here. Thank you. But TSBA made us aware through our HR information that this is something that aligns with the Families First Coronavirus Act. And it will be in effect from April the 1st through December the 31st. And so it aligns with the national guidelines for this particular act. And so we have aligned a policy for our district that implements that. It is a short-term act at this time. You know, it goes through December 31st, but we do need to go ahead and talk about it. So we wanted to put it on here for first reading. It is something that we need to add to our policies based on the COVID and HR laws that are current. But that's what this is referring to. And for our principals, this is also something that you need to become very aware of in the event that we have employees, teachers, who would fall into one of these eligible categories. And those are some things that as we make our plan for re-entering in the fall, that we make sure that we are able to address as well, because this could really affect staffing.
So do we need to vote on this as the first reading, and then the next meeting we'll vote it in as the second?
I think this is just discussion, so if
I
you
don't see
need-
anything where it has anywhere they have to document anything. Did I miss that?
I thought it was in here, let me look.
FL, you've got to document it, I'm sure it's following the same guidelines as FL and RA.
We-
Anytime the federal government gets involved, you've got to sign it
I
off.
believe, if I could address this, I think that the documentation, I mean, we would have people document for our purposes here, but as far as getting a doctor's note or something like that, the law does not specify that they have to do that.
Okay.
It says, you know, and I think they did that because within the climate that we're in, it's not always possible in some circumstances to actually, you know, get to the doctor. So if you're, even if you're missing work because you're seeking a medical diagnosis, I mean, that's a valid reason for taking it, so you might not actually have a doctor's note at that point.
Any more discussion?
It does give us a little bit of leeway in the fact that it does say that the director of schools will post the requirements and create any necessary administrative procedures that I think would be a reasonable administrative procedure, given the type of work that we're in with instructional staff, thinking about, and we are already thinking about substitutes. What kind of training do we need? What kind of creative way can we talk about staffing in the event that we have multiple staff members in a curricular area? I've asked for, and I shared with you some of the waivers that I've asked for on some of the laws that would limit us. I've asked for some waivers there in the anticipation that we might have a need for increasing the scope of some of our teachers. So I think that is definitely something that we could have in some of our administrative procedures.
It says you can move on to, I guess, a 12-week extended period at the end, of which I think the first 10 days are not paid, and then after that, it's 2/3 of your pay. Is that 2/3 of sick leave, 2/3 that we have to pay, or how is that?
It's capped at a certain amount on the 2/3. I can't remember right offhand what the cap is, but yeah, it's, I also believe, and of course this hadn't come into play for us yet, so we've really not looked very much into this. I believe that we can take a credit if we have someone who takes this sort of leave and gets paid. We can take a credit on our quarterly tax report that we send in to the IRS. So we'll get some money back.
And again, let me see, my concern, the financial piece of it is a true concern, but also the instructional piece. Because if that is somebody who is a highly effective teacher, then we have to make some kind of a modification to teacher schedules, flexibility, and those are the kind of waivers I've submitted, is can we
With the
have the
ratios.
flexibility to do what we need to do to teach students? That is our mission. So, yeah, a lot of conversation around making plans, flexible plans that, that's why the waivers I've asked for, to give us that opportunity to think differently. So then we'll put this on the next board agenda for approval. If there's any other questions between now and then, we can get some additional information for you.
Anything else? Okay, item 14, election of the chairman for the Lenoir City Board of Education.
Not everybody speaked up at once there.
Nominations?
Do what? I didn't hear him.
I said, don't everybody speak up at once.
Place the name of Rick Chadwick. Chairman.
Second.
In this difficult time, we need a great leader.
Difficult
You're the man,
time.
Mr. Chadwick, you're the man. Hard times call for strenuous
Roll
leaders.
call.
Rick Chadwick,
Abstain.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman, Mitch Ledbetter.
Item number 15, election of the vice chairman for Lenoir City Board of Education.
I'd like to place the name of Matthew Coleman.
Second.
Roll call.
Hurry,
Wait,
hurry.
Ain't no hurry, said roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman,
I'll abstain.
and Mitch Ledbetter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our
Item 16, superintendent comments.
Well, congratulations to both of you, Rick, for maintaining some consistency and leadership during this time. So we appreciate your willingness to serve as our board chairman. And Mr. Coleman, congratulations on being our vice chairman. This will be a great year, and it will bring business as unusual. So I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your thought partnerships as we work through everything that we're going to have to address coming up. So with that, I want to share with the board some information. As we have been out, we've simply not been physically in school, but there's been a lot of work going on in our schools and a lot of things to celebrate. So I want to first of all share with you, if you didn't get to see it, WBIR did a teacher profile on one of our teachers at the middle school, Miss Manda Boyd. She's a phenomenal teacher, and so they, WBIR came out and did a profile with her. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see that, it is posted on their website. You can go back.
That was actually the second one that we had. Rachel Browder had another one that was a few weeks ago.
So lot of recognition of the work that teachers are doing. WATE also did a great job of coming out and covering our food distribution this past week. Our athletes and coaches have been helping out with the distribution of the food. Cheerleader sponsor, they were all there, and so there was a very nice presentation on WATE that also highlighted some of the good work that's going on. And I will just have to say again, every week we just honor Vicki Bivens and the job that her cafeteria staff do feeding our students. It's very important.
And our volunteers.
And our volunteers, that's right. Also, we continue to recognize our senior class, 2020. The billboard is up and running on 321, and we'll scroll through over the next 2 months, May and June. The billboard will show every student's traditional graduation picture. So those are, the students do change up there as the billboard changes. So that is something that, as the board, you all have had a great part in doing that. In addition, Mr. Orr shared with me that the senior award night, which normally would have occurred this week, has now been put in video presentation. And is that already posted, Mr. Orr, or will it be?
It's gonna be posted today, I believe.
So that video presentation of senior awards will be posted on the high school website. So that'll be something that we can tweet out and we can let our community know that that's there, and it will honor our students as well. So thank you for that. Also, normally at our awards night, one of the things I like to do is to talk to the students. It's so much fun to watch the scholarships be given out and all the money that they receive. Parents really like that too. But I want to update the board on that. Our local college and academic and athletic scholarships would be given out. The senior class had 177 students to qualify for HOPE, and they had 217 to qualify for TN Promise. And the total amount of all scholarships received by the class of 2020 is $5,509,900. And that's up from last year's total of $5,314,990. So it's about $200,000 more in this graduating class than last graduating class.
What was the total number?
Sorry?
What was the total number?
Graduates.
Yeah.
Still working on that.
Notch it up 1 or 2, you got
Last minute.
We got a couple of us.
That could. Good. I hope they make it.
It has been a challenge.
I could imagine.
It has been a challenge in spring. When students heard school was out, they really believed it. And
Teachers too, probably.
spotty. So we have really been working on that. So thank you to the high school and the middle school and the elementary school to try to keep kids engaged and conversations being had to connect them, because that's what kids need. Kids need connection, community, caring. I also wanted to share with you, you may have heard yesterday or day before, Bill and Chrissy Haslam have established an opportunity for college students to actually tutor students in grades K through 6 and get paid. It's part of the Tennessee tutoring troops. And so we just want to recognize that opportunity for some of our college students as well. And our Boys and Girls Club is partnering through this organization, and we'll be bringing in some tutors to work with students that are there. So we have a great partnership with Boys and Girls Club, and we appreciate that. It also is something that will be offered to any of the community partners for daycare or any organization that's working with children K through 6. And so we want to recognize that opportunity as well. We do have a few people that are continuing to wind up their school year or wind up their career. So board, you see there's some letters of resignation, and then we have some that are retiring. So we are in that season of the year. I will say it started a little earlier this year than normally, with a lot of time on people's hands. You know, they began to assess, you know, am I going to continue, am I not? And school systems all around have already posted positions, and we're all fighting for the very best candidates. So you will have, you'll see the summer hiring and moving kind of conversations occurring. It seems to be a little earlier this year. But we are very excited about looking toward what the possibilities could be in the school district. We have had some success. We've also had some areas that have been a real challenge during this time. So we are, on Monday, going to have a district-wide conversation via Zoom or Google Meet. We have district-wide conversations set up at 9 o'clock with the elementary school staff and faculty and our district staff. So we will be conducting that from this room via electronically, and getting a lot of feedback and perspectives from our teachers, while at the same time we're going to forecast some plans, some opportunities for the fall. We will do that at 9 o'clock for the elementary school. At 11 o'clock, we will do that with middle school, and then we will finish at 1 o'clock with the high school. So those are all electronic conversations district-wide that we're going to be having as we begin to have the conversations about what has worked well, what do we need to work on, and what do we need to focus on as we move toward the fall. So I just want the board to know that a lot of work is being put in with our instructional staff, our maintenance and custodial staff, to ensure that we're doing things that are safe and sound, and then also our social emotional staff with our nurses to ensure that we have a safe workplace as well. Thank you.
All right. H, got anything? Matthew? Me? Your motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Rick Chadwick,
Aye.
Glenn McNish,
Aye.
Matthew Coleman,
Aye.
Mitch Ledbetter.
See how short that
Shoot.
resignation was?
I'm out.
That's not the shortest one I've seen.